What's up, everybody? Welcome to the BettorOff Tour Championship podcast. You got myself, Dan. You got my co-host, Dougie. Today, we're going to be breaking down last week's BMW Championship. Looking forward to this week's Tour Championship and everything else in between. So, to start off, obviously, we want users to tune in and enjoy what we listen to, but we also want you to check out our app if you haven't already. If you're not familiar with the BettorOff app or what it does, let me just give you a brief rundown. Combining robust data and crowdsourcing, BettorOff provides users the ability to identify who really knows their stuff by tracking every user's full pick history and making that data freely available to the entire community. Choose which chats to subscribe to each month based on host users' verified performance, not marketing, self-promotion, or hype. BettorOff is available for both iOS and Android. Download now and be a better today. So this is the first podcast in hopefully a series of podcasts covering the PGA Tour, golf in general, just everything in between, PGA, LPGA, college, you name it. But it couldn't come at a better time. Middle of the FedEx Cup playoffs right now. Obviously just wrapped up the BMW Championship, and we're looking forward to the Tour Championship. So before we look ahead to this upcoming week, we have to talk about what happened last week. So, Dougie, why don't you give us a little rundown of what just happened this past week down in Baltimore?
Thanks, Dan. I definitely could not have said that better myself. But last week we had an absolutely wild week at the BMW. So this year we've had an absurd amount of playoffs, and no playoff was probably better than what we saw between the duel between Cantlay and Bryson. That went 6 holes. DeChambeau almost broke. He missed a 6-footer on 18 on Friday to shoot 59, and that kind of foreshadowed his putting struggles that would happen in the playoff. So we've got to see 6 holes of match play with 2 of the best American stars, 2 guys who I would love to see paired with on the Ryder Cup, where we had DeChambeau bashing the ball 400 yards down the fairway, having a wedge in on 18 over and over and over. And then we had Cantlay laying back, hitting a 6-iron in. But it didn't matter if he was hitting a 6-iron in because he made every single putt. And eventually, Bryson had look after look after look after look to win, and he missed every single time until he decided to hit the ball in the water on 18. And then he miraculously went up and down to continue that playoff. And then finally on the 6th playoff hole where they played 18th for what seemed to be the 100th time, they both hit they both stuck shots. Cantlay again makes a 20-footer and Bryson pulls an 8-footer. And pulling putts was the story of his week. We had an absolutely electric crowd there where, you have 90% of golf fans who just are there to cheer for Bryson to lose. The PGA Tour announced today that if you yell Brooksy during an event, you're now going to be banned from ever attending a PGA event again. Outside of that duel, we saw some major moves for people to qualify for the Tour Championship, moving to that top 30. South African Eric Van Rooyen moved up 18 spots with his 5th place finish to get him into his first Tour Championship. And then Sergio Garcia, peaking at the right time for the Ryder Cup, moved up 16 spots with his incredible performance to finish tied 6th at 20 under par. And Bryson, not to beat a guy while he's down, he set the 72-hole record for lowest score not to win a PGA event. We saw birdies absolutely everywhere. So if you're a golf fan who just wants to see birdies, this was your event. I personally love seeing guys struggle to break par because that's like on par with my golf. But it's good to have a mix. So this week we have the Tour Championship. The Tour Championship's been at East Lake every single year since the FedEx Cup was installed. And there are some absolutely incredible perks for the 30 guys that qualified. So the grand prize for winning the Tour Championship and winning the FedEx Cup is a $15 million first place prize. That is not a bad weekend of work. The last place, the 30th place finisher, is guaranteed essentially a $400,000 payday. So you just show up, you walk away with almost $500,000. The other perks of qualifying for the Tour Championship include qualifying for essentially every single World Golf Championship event, um, and invitationals like the Arnold Palmer, the RBC Heritage, the Players Championship, the Genesis Invitational, the Memorial. You get guaranteed entries into three majors, and you essentially have the entry into the fourth major guaranteed. Um, and you are also likely to get better tee time slots for much of the next season and be included in more featured groups.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize that the top 30 had those perks of more featured groups and better tee time slots. I didn't know that that was something you could really win or earn on the PGA Tour. But I do like that incentive. I do think it's a cool thing that a lot of people don't think about. So we're heading to East Lake. Like Dougie mentioned, we're heading to Georgia. Probably the most iconic memory that people have of East Lake is Tiger back in 2018, kind of cemented his return to golf when he won his 80th PGA Tour tournament there and won the Tour Championship. That was an awesome
Yeah,
scene. I remember that.
personally, whenever I'm down on a Sunday, I watch the video of that crowd chasing him up the 18th fairway onto the green. Just gets me every time.
Yeah, not a dry eye in the room when a golf fan watches that video. But so the defending champ, Dustin Johnson, won it last year. He finished minus 21. But one thing that the Tour Championship does, and we're going to get more into this, how this affects this year, for the third year, based on your FedEx Cup standings at the end of the season, you now have starting strokes, essentially handicap strokes. The better you're ranked at the end of the year, the more of an advantage you're going to go in with. So last year, Dustin Johnson won at 21 under, but he didn't necessarily shoot the best 72 whole round. But that's the advantage. A few years back when they realized that the guy who is in first in the FedEx Cup isn't getting a big enough advantage over the other 29. They started to implement this now. So how this shapes up this week coming into it. Obviously, Patrick Cantlay, after taking down Bryson last week, is the number one in the FedEx Cup. So he is going to start at 10 under, which is a two-shot lead over the next closest golfer, who's Tony Finau, finished second. He's going to start at 8 under, and it just trickles down. So we have 8 under, 1 at 7, 1 at 6, 1 at 5, and then a host at 4, host at 3, 2, 1, all the way down to even par for the top 30. So it makes it a little bit difficult this week as far as making picks, who you think is going to win, because you can make picks based on just straight 72 hole score, or who's going to win it outright based on the handicap system. But I am interested to hear. We're gonna go through and give some picks. And why don't we start with you, Dougie? Who do you like this week?
So who I love this week is Xander Schauffele. He's going off at 26-1. Unfortunately, he's starting at -2. But Xander has had a bit of a hangover after his Olympic championship, but rightfully so. The guy's a badass, and now he has an Olympic gold medal to go with it. He has absolutely dominated East Lake in the Tour Championship in the past. His real emergence onto the golf scene was the year he won the Tour Championship, and it was kind of awkward because he won the event, but he didn't win the FedEx Cup playoffs, which inspired the new format we have today. He also had the lowest 72-hole score last year, but because of where he started, he didn't win. I just can't stay away from someone who plays that well at that course and who just wins these type of events. Another guy I love this week is Abraham Answer at 34-1. He's coming in at -4. He's got 3 top tens in his past 5 starts, including a playoff loss at the St. Jude. And Abraham is an electric golfer. He's probably the coolest golfer on tour because his title sponsor is his personal tequila brand. Which after watching him play the other week, I personally ordered a bottle to come in from Texas. Third pick I love of this out of my favorites. This is Tony Finau. He's starting at -8. He's plus 650. He's in great form. He finally broke his curse and had a win at Liberty. It was great. Everybody's just been counting down, waiting for Tony to actually win. And, it helped that Cameron Smith bombed his drive out of bounds, but a win's a win. Sleeper pick that I absolutely love this week is a guy we mentioned earlier who's played his way into the Tour Championship is Eric Van Rooyen. He's plus 600 to finish in the top 10. He's starting at even, but at Liberty he finished seventh. Last week he finished fifth, and he's peaking at the right time and playing some of the best golf of his life at a perfect time for him, where he really needed to cement himself on the PGA Tour, and now he's putting himself on par with superstars. One fade that I'm going to have this week is Colin Morikawa. Colin Morikawa is arguably the best golfer in the world, but it's rumored that he screwed up his back in Tokyo, and after the British Open, he's really struggled. He was battling Phil Mickelson for DFL last week, and he's coming in at minus 310. And his odds to finish in the top 10 are plus 140. I'm fading that. And his odds to finish the top 20 are minus 380. I'm fading that. I could see him finishing last.
Wow. All right. So pretty strong prediction there from Dougie. I'm gonna make some picks as well. I'm gonna pick three people that I like to win it all, and then I'm gonna pick a couple of other just props that I like. So number one, the guy like the favorite to win it all has got to be Patrick Cantlay. I mean, this guy's coming in with a 2-shot lead on the rest of the field, and he's obviously, you have to be red hot to win in that type of fashion in a 6-hole playoff against one of the, some argue, the greatest golfer in the world. You know, when you're flat stick and your putting is that hot, doesn't matter how the rest of your game's going. You know, if you can putt well, you're going to stay in contention, and he's been putting everything together. So with a, you know, even straight up, I like Patrick Cantlay this week. You know, but with a 2-shot advantage over the next player just right out the gate, it's kind of hard for me not to like him in this situation here. The second person I actually like a little bit more mid tier, Rory McIlroy. So Rory, the last 2 playoff tournaments, has spent Thursday and Friday slow. He's taken a little bit too long to get hot to end Sunday in contention for the tournament, but his weekends have been on fire, and so I think he can finally. He's won the Tour Championship twice. He's won twice at East Lake, so I think he's very familiar with this course. He's just starting to finally be able to put 4 rounds of golf together and stay hot the whole time. So I like Rory. He's plus 2,200 this week. I think he gets 4 rounds together. I think it's very possible that he wins his third Tour Championship this week at East Lake. Someone I like to finish top 5, who it's odd that it's weird that this is sort of an underdog, but I like Dustin Johnson to finish top 5 this week. He's plus 280, and I don't blame FanDuel Sportsbook for putting it at plus 280. This is a guy who missed the cut at Liberty National 2 weeks ago at the Northern Trust. He did turn it around late again, kind of like Rory. He didn't have the best couple of rounds. Obviously, there was no cut at the BMW, but he didn't have the best couple of rounds at the BMW to start, but then got hot Saturday, Sunday, and was able to actually finish in the top 10. He finished tied for 6th, and he's going to be starting 3 under, so he's starting 7 strokes back of Cantlay. But I think that he can, Dustin Johnson was the world number 1 for a long time, and that wasn't that long ago. So I think that he can finally he can get himself back on track. He can get his mind right, get his game right, and a top 5. I'm not saying everyone in this field has a chance to win. I wouldn't bet on Dustin Johnson to win this week, but I do like him finishing top 5 and then get some momentum going into the rest of this year. Another bet that I like, I'm actually going to pick a fade as well. I'm going to fade Cameron Smith finishing top 5. Now, he's plus 280 to finish top 5, so it's not that strong of a bet. But I know a lot of people, ever since, Dougie mentioned that playoff at Liberty National with Finau, ever since he almost shot 59 at Liberty National, people have been riding really high on him. And I mean, he obviously played his way into the top 30 in the last couple of weeks. But he finished tied for 34th last week in a 70-man tournament. So I think that he pretty much, Liberty National was his chance to really make his mark and cement his name in the FedEx Cup and on the PGA Tour. at least reasonably soon. It's hard to get back there. You're playing against literally the best golfers in the world this week. I think he used a lot of his magic up at Liberty National. It shows he kind of had a little bit of burnout, tied for 34th. He couldn't keep that going, unlike some of the other people like the Cantlays and the McIlroys, had good tournaments back to back. So I don't think Cameron Smith finishes in the top 5. I don't think Cameron Smith finishes in the top 10, but I'm going to fade top 5 at plus 280. And then my third pick for someone I like to win this week, more of a dark horse, more of an outside pick, Sam Burns at plus 3,700. He just coming off an 8th place finish at the BMW. He's going to start at 4 under this, out the gate with the starting strokes. He has 9 rounds of 64 or better, and nobody else has more than 6. So this is a guy, you have not seen his name much at the top of the leaderboard, but he has been in contention. It feels like every single week that he plays, especially in the last 2 weeks in the BMW and at Liberty National with the Northern Trust. I like this guy. He's not a big name. A lot of these guys are big names: Cantlay, McIlroy, Dustin Johnson. These are John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, Justin Thomas. Right? He's coming into a place where he is not a big name. He's not considered a big name, and sometimes that works to your advantage. It's not about your name, it's how good you're playing golf. I think Cam Burns has been playing great golf recently. So, like I said, he's plus 3,700. It's an outside shot, but of the people who have odds similar to that, I like Sam Burns. And he also has a chance this week. He's been playing so well that he has a chance to even get himself into some Ryder Cup captain's pick considerations. And I know Dougie has a little bit more to talk about on that.
Yeah, I'm basically at the top of the Sam Burns fan club. He's electrifying. In the Ryder Cup, you need guys that are going to make birdies, and nobody makes more birdies than Sam Burns. That guy can go low. He's electrifying. I forget the number off the top of my head, but he has co-led, and I think like 8 of like the 15 events he's played in the last few months. Like when he gets hot, he stays hot. So I'll talk about him a little more in a second. I actually did consider creating a troll Instagram account that was basically just campaigning for Sam Burns to get a captain's pick because we need him in Wisconsin. So some of the really interesting Ryder Cup storylines we have going this week is how Patrick Reed got into the field. Patrick Reed, for those that don't know, has not played a playoff event. He withdrew 5 minutes after the event at Liberty started, much to my dismay because he was in my FanDuel lineup. So I spent the whole weekend complaining to FanDuel that they should be refunding my entry to no avail. So Patrick, thanks for that. And then Patrick also pulled out last week he had a double pneumonia. And one of the funny storylines all week was that he was still, since he had such a good season, he was still close enough to the top 30 where there's a chance that he might still get into the Tour Championship, even though he was in the hospital. And what happened, how he did get in was he was on 31st place when Kei-Young Lee was on the 18th hole, and all Lee needed to do was par from the fairway, and he was in the Tour Championship. Lee's an unheralded golfer. Being in the Tour Championship would have been life-changing for him. So what happened to him there was a bit heartbreaking, but essentially he hit a 7-iron approach in that was teetering towards the green. It took a horrible ricochet and ended up in the creek. And then he needed to chip in from his drop, and he just rolled it just by the hole. Boom, he's out of 30th. He's 31st. Patrick Reed in the Tour Championship. And Patrick Reed is now suddenly healthy and playing the Tour Championship. And one of the funniest things for Patrick Reed is that he calls himself Captain America. And before he got hurt and got sick, he started releasing all this whole new merch line with him and all of this USA gear where he was really playing off Captain America. So he is looking, if he's in this field this week, he's going to be determined to have a great showing to cement himself as a captain's pick. So for the U.S. team, people who have their spots locked up are Morikawa, Dustin Johnson, DeChambeau, Koepka, Justin Thomas, Cantlay. Then we have Finau has locked up a spot essentially. Cantlay's locked up his spot. I already mentioned him. Um, but there's basically two spots. So Harris English is most likely getting a spot. Dale Berger is on that fringe. Kevin Kisner, I think, played himself out in the playoffs. Phil Mickelson, I think, played himself out. The one interesting potential captain's pick that a lot of people have just forgotten about is Will Zalatoris. So Zalatoris had a phenomenal season. He's a star. He has a high world ranking, but because the PGA Tour has archaic rules about their membership and about their FedEx Cup playoff qualifications, he didn't have full tour status when he started the season. He was a Corn Ferry Tour member. And the only way he would have been eligible for the playoffs is if he won an event on tour during the year, even though he has already locked up his card for next year. And so since he didn't win an event, even though he was in about 15th in the Ryder Cup standings, had he qualified, he wasn't allowed in the playoffs. So he's just been dropping down the Ryder Cup standings. Looking at Team Europe, you can never underestimate, even though on paper Team America is just unbelievable. I mean, the fact that we're looking at Dustin Johnson as a weak link on the team is insane. But Europe, you're seeing guys like Rory and you're seeing Sergio. You're seeing them reemerge to form at the right time. And if Sergio is playing well, if Rory is playing well, Europe is going to be dangerous. And they love nothing more than draining birdies on American soil and letting the crowd know about it. So I'm hoping that Sam Burns has an electric week so he can solidify his spot on the team. But at the end of the day, we just have an embarrassment of riches of people to choose from. Like, it's a great problem to have, but you have a guy like Scotty Scheffler who's had an incredible year. I don't even think he should be considered at this point. You have a guy like Jason Kokrak. He's won twice on tour this year. He took down Spieth mano and mano in Texas in Spieth's backyard, and this guy is not even being considered anymore. So the fact that the U.S. team is this good and they still could get. I mean, they're going to be huge favorites against Europe, but you just cannot sleep on Europe. If I was an American, I might take that European value.
Yeah, I think the last time I checked the odds, I think according to FanDuel, the USA was somewhere around minus 180 to win the Ryder Cup. So, that's obviously not knowing, Patrick Reed's health and the form of everyone else going into it. But it's going to be an exciting Ryder Cup for sure. Always look forward to the Ryder Cup. So we've got the Tour Championship upcoming this weekend in East Lake in just a
Yes.
few weeks.
Sorry, didn't cut you off. One last thing: the guy I did not even mention, the one player who neither of us picked him. This one, he's made his return to the PGA Tour this year is Jordan Spieth, and Jordan Spieth is not going to qualify on points on his own, even though he's had a phenomenal season. But you have Spieth back in the Ryder Cup as well, and that is just. I mean, I'm not a Spieth fan. My opinion on him, I'll keep this short. This is for another time. But I think he's one of the worst golfers. He's a horrible ball striker. He just happens to have some of the hottest putting streaks of all time. And if at the end of the day, like, you drive for show, you putt for dough, and if Spieth constantly draining in 60 footers and winning events because of that, that's what you need at the Ryder Cup. And so to have him back in the fray, playing good golf and having confidence, Spieth is something that should put us over the top against Europe.
Yeah, and match play is a whole other beast. 4 ball, all string shot match play. These are all things where you don't need to hit, you don't need to hit 215 good shots. You only need to hit it, the good shots when it matters most. So it'll be interesting to see who gets those captain picks and who is able to qualify on points. I just looked it up right now. The USA minus 195, Europe is plus 175, and plus 1200 on a tie. So it's pretty tight right now, but like I said, those odds I'm sure are going to fluctuate. Make sure if you like those lines to get your bets in now, and we'll have to see what happens. So we got the Tour Championship coming up this weekend. A little bit of preview of that, a little bit of Ryder Cup action, and I think I think that's good. I think we covered everything we wanted to. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Make sure to download the Better Off app. Check us out. See what you think. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and everything you can imagine. We'd love to hear from you. We love to talk to users and get feedback and just talk sports with you guys. So hope you like the video. Hope this is something you'll enjoy. For months and to come, and as you know, golf is always changing and there's always something going on. So it's really exciting for us to be able to do something like this. That's going to be it from us. I'm going to sign off. I'm Dan. That's Dougie. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. And make sure to check us out on our social media. Download the app. Thank you very much. See you later.